Welcome back to another episode of the Movie Bros podcast. This is Duncan and Hayden. This week we're talking about National Treasure 2,
Book of
and
Secrets.
let's get into it.
So,
Well,
yeah, I mean, so where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Nicolas Cage's dye job? Do you want to start
hold
with
on.
the deep
Let's work our way
frying?
through this. Let's work through this methodically. So it started out. It released in 2007. This is pre Dark Knight, but again, first movie did well, so it's not like it's not in a genre that should do well. And looking at what it did when it came out, it also did well. So
Yeah,
even though
let's say
it's
this
definitely
this
not
also made
as
them a small truckload of money.
yeah, between the two of them, I think they made like 800 million between the two movies, which is crazy.
And
Again,
I've
it's
always been surprised that they're like, nah, let's never touch this franchise again until like 2020 we make a bad TV show.
yeah. I was trying to read a couple different articles this morning about it, and like, it just sounds like they've gone through a bunch of different rewrites over the last like decade.
Oh, I'm sure.
Disney keeps not being happy with what they decide to do, and then eventually when they decide, oh, this is what we want, they send it to Nick Cage, and apparently he just has never gotten back to them about it. But like the
Well, Nicolas
he's got
Cage
other he's got
is
other
an
things going.
artist, and I will never criticize his decisions. Clearly, he makes good ones all the time, especially with his taxes.
Of course. So let's just be very broad without getting into our actual thoughts yet. What are your likes?
I mean, it's a lot of the same. It's in many ways it's a very similar movie. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Sure, you have to suspend a little bit more disbelief this time, but I mean, I had a good time. I can't really complain. If you go and expecting another National Treasure movie, you're probably going to enjoy it too.
Yeah, that's I mean I just said like yeah, it still has that kind of escapism feel that like yeah, it's enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's like a great movie, but it's fun. That's fine.
I think this one's a lot sillier, which is
Oh yeah. Well,
a
it's
double-edged sword.
yes.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it really doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Because that was also what I said for the dislikes. Because I'm like, yeah, well, the more ridiculous like history heist is cool, but there's more like slightly ridiculous like trap stuff and Indiana Jones bits that
Oh,
I
trust
don't
me,
know if
the third act is jumping
yeah,
flaming sharks while blindfolded and
well, it's not that crazy,
hands
but
tied behind your
like
back kind of
it's it's
suspension.
not it's not that crazy, but like yes,
Compared to
comparatively
the
for
first
sure.
one, yes.
Um, okay. If you could recast someone, who would you recast?
Um
When I think about it, it's basically the same cast as the first movie, except for Ed
it is very
Harris
similar.
and the
I don't know if I would
President,
recast
or
anyone.
Helen Mirren.
I don't think I'd recast anyone. I Not that everyone's like, "Oh, they're perfect for this role," but like I don't know. I can't think of anyone if I were to make this today who I would
Sure.
really want to change.
No, I think Ed Harris was actually pretty good. I liked Helen Mirren as the
Oh,
mom.
Helen Mirren's great. If anything, I'm
Um,
impressed that she hid her British accent so convincingly. Like I mean, granted, she's an incredible actress and everything, so it's not like
yeah,
shocking, but like I was just impressed that she sounded so completely and unforcedly American in this.
sure.
Uh, Ed Harris is great. Dude looks like a weathered piece of
He's
leather, but
yes,
like
that's
if anything, I would have preferred to have more of him in the movie. He only really becomes a character with motivations in the third act, and he's a great villain. I wish he would have
he is,
become
and
more
like
of a driving force.
they didn't. I mean, he started it, but like once he did the initial push of like, oh, this is why we need to find these things. I feel like his need was no longer there.
Yes, he doesn't have a whole lot of reason to be there until again the third act comes around.
Which, yeah, they actually, did some character development with him, like at the very end. But I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, at
that was
least that's
nice.
something. Uh, yeah. Would you? rate this? Where are you at out of 5?
So I think it's a step down from the first one just
It
because
is.
a little bit of a silliness factor is upped, but it's still kind of within the same ballpark. For me, I think this is a solid 3 out of 5. I think the last one I said was like a 3.5 or a 4 or something, just because for its genre, it's not terrible. I think this one is a slight step down, but it's still really enjoyable.
Yeah, I said a 3 because I'm like, yeah, that's again, if you're looking for more of the same, you're getting it. Um, but there's not like a wow moment or any kind of those kind of things.
That's
Either way.
true. I mean, even the spoilers or whatever, but again, that's what you're listening for this podcast for. Even the reveal of the City of Gold at the end.
Eh,
I mean, exactly. It's not like a "ooh wow, that's so cool" that I felt when I watched the first one in theaters as like a kid.
yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
"Oh wow, they're doing all the fire and it goes through all of the
Mhm.
treasure and oh
Mhm.
that's so cool." This one was just like, it's okay. It's a bunch of buildings. I did think it was interesting that when they do that reveal shot of the City of Gold, they almost do the exact same camera work from the first one. It is nearly
Yes.
an
Yes.
identical scene.
Yes.
They're like,
Hey,
"Hey,
if
it
it ain't
worked for the first one. Let's
exactly,
do it again."
if it's not broken, don't fix it.
So
But
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
no, no, go for it.
I was just gonna say that one thing that I do like in this one that was absent from number one is we get a good old fashioned Nicolas Cage freakout, and that's always a high point of any movie.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. That's in my notes. Uh, for sure. Uh, let's say someone did at least enjoy this. Would you recommend anything different than what we recommended for the first movie?
I mean, since they are essentially the same movie, not really. I think I would still recommend, you know, action movies of the same era. I would recommend the
Sure.
Pirates movies. I
Yeah.
recommend some of the Indiana Jones movies, things like
But
that.
see, now that this does have Nick Cage being Nick Cage, I feel like if they liked this, you could recommend a little more Nick Cagey stuff. I don't know.
That's true. I would say if you like this kind of Nick Cage, I check out Con Air. Um,
Yeah.
Literally anything else he's in, he has moments where he's being
Yeah.
his Nick Caginess in this.
Gone in 60 Seconds because that's a little more
Oh
heisty.
God, that's an awful movie.
Actually, it's not that bad.
Have
They
you seen
root.
the
I mean,
edit where they just take all the scenes where he's in the car and mash them together? It looks like he's having a stroke.
I just can't get past Angelina's Jolie's hair in that. They decided to do like the blonde dreads for whatever reason.
Oh my God, I'd forgotten how awful that was. Okay, so that
We
that that leads
digress.
me to a question.
Yes,
So in this one, Diane Kruger's character, whose name I can never remember,
Abigail.
there we go, you got it right. So Abigail has finally come to her senses and left Nick's cage for a much more attractive person.
I don't even. I mean, it's
A
not that
physically
Ty
more
Burrell.
attractive person.
He's not that. He's not even physically attractive. I don't think
I'm,
so. I don't know.
I wouldn't put him on the cover of a magazine, but like as far as his face goes, I think he's more handsome than Nick Cage.
He's got kind of a
He's got
skeleton
the
face. I don't know.
he's got the more square jaw. He's got the it, if I had to assume what
Any
women thought were
yes.
attractive, I
Okay.
thought it okay. What do you think is more unrealistic? Nicolas Cage's character being with Angelina Jolie or Diane Kruger?
Mm, again, they're both very situational because, like, I feel like both he's with Angelina Jolie because they both like stealing cars. He's with Diane Kruger because they both are really into history and treasure hunting. Like, again, that's what they show throughout the movie. Is like the only time that they are actually like enjoying each other is when they're talking about history or going through that stuff together, which doesn't exactly bode well for their marriage or whatever long term. But again, it doesn't sound like they're married. It just sounds like they're a living girlfriend boyfriend kind of vibe. But
It's true. I do like that even though that they show his house that he buys at the end of the first movie, when they go back around to it in this one, when they have to break in to steal her her
yes,
pass or whatever, like now it's a giant like castle with like a stone courtyard and
Well, they don't really
It's
show
it's a
they don't
much
show
huger thing.
they don't show much of it in the first movie. It could be that big. You never know.
I suppose so.
All right. I think that was kind of all like the bullet point main stuff that I think we try to cover every episode, and the rest is just free discussion. But
General thoughts you had during the movie.
hmm I thought the John Wilkes Booth bit not that bad.
Right? Like, I
Like
mean, not that
not
I
that
would watch
bad.
a whole movie about
No,
that,
no,
but
no,
like
not at all.
that whole bit was really well done. I liked the lighting. I liked the camera work
There,
there. I thought it was very interesting.
yes, there's a bit where like the camera's on the ground and it's his
Oh, and then
boot
his boots
steps into
step out.
frame, and I was like,
Yeah,
I literally
that's a
wrote
good
boot
shot.
step out. I was like, oh, this is not bad.
I mean, it's a good shot. Also, just for me personally, I love everyone's mustaches in that scene. They all
Of
have
course.
their giant like, oh howdy partner, I'm a cowboy mustaches. It's
Mm,
great.
yeah. Let's see.
So one thing I have written down that I noticed pretty much throughout the whole thing is that, and we touched on this last time with the first one, is that so the first one has some color grading going on, but it's not like harsh. You can't notice it if you're not looking for it. This time around, they have turned that slider up. Everything is a lot more yellow and gold, and that's definitely done for thematic purposes. They want you to notice all the gold and everything, but it makes some scenes so incredibly yellow. Pretty much any scene that takes place in Helen Mirren's office, it's like watching it with like yellow glasses on. It is
Yeah,
rough.
there's a lot of yellow and gold in that room for sure. I mean, I did like it more than the first movie for sure. I wrote that somewhere in here. Yeah, better color grading, I feel like.
See, I'm the
Um,
opposite. I think the color grading in the first one was a lot nicer to look at.
I don't know. I kind of liked it. Hmm.
I,
What else?
um, what did I have
I
written down?
definitely Nick Cage started dyeing his hair by this point.
Oh my god, the first scene when he walks in
Oh, yeah,
and
it's pretty
it's like his
obvious.
hair is black and his hair is
Yes.
definitely still wacky in the first one, but it's just brown. It's normal. He comes in this one and it's like Discord gray. It's so weird looking. I have written
Yeah.
down that I do like that they bring back the same supporting cast for the FBI, even outside of Harvey Keitel. They bring back the
Yeah,
same
even of
members
course,
of his
yes.
circle, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah, to make it the continuality is good.
Not sure if
Uh
that's a word, my man.
continuality? Isn't it?
Continuation.
I think continuality is a word.
Potato, potato.
Either way, uh less layers this movie,
Well, they're
but
doing a
I
lot more running.
but I did like uh the very beginning when he's in the bookstore signing his book. I did Riley was wearing this three-piece like charcoal gray suit. I was like, I'd wear that. I like
I
that.
love Riley. Riley is so much more fun in this one. He gets a lot more moments to be comedic
He
relief.
does. He does, which is great. I did say, why does he always play the cuck when, according to Diane Kruger's boyfriend, Ty, whatever? I feel like
Ty
he always just
Burrell,
plays.
yes.
Yeah, I feel like he plays that guy. And like, I wrote this later on, but when they're in the president's office,
Oh
why is
my
he an
god, that
idiot? Why is he so dumb?
is his brainstem disconnected?
Yeah, like all of
Like
a
don't get me
sudden,
wrong. I'm sure that I act dumber in the presence of an attractive woman, but this man regresses to a Neanderthal. It is
yeah,
ridiculous.
I did write. I think it was when they were talking about uh him moving out or something like that. Or no, 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 it was after either I can't remember what the exact moment was, but just the women. Ah, can't live with them. The whole like
Ah, good old
painful like
2007 humor.
yeah, I'm like, ah, buddy. Oof.
Uh,
I
I,
did like
I
that.
I also like that the pinnacle of technology for everyone is Blackberries and iPod Classics. Like, I mean,
Well,
it
I mean, that was the time.
it makes
BlackBerry
sense.
was
It
a
just made me smile thinking like, you could do all of Riley's work from one cell phone today. Like it
yes.
would make him seem so much less impressive if you made this today and he just pulls out an iPhone. I was like, yep, all right, done everything.
Did you ever see Blackberry, like the movie Blackberry?
BlackBerry with the one guy from It's Always Sunny.
Glenn Howerton, yes.
I have not seen the
Really
BlackBerry
good.
movie with Glenn
Really
Howerton.
good. Highly recommend. Like,
I can't get over
very,
his
very
bald
good.
cap.
Oh, no, no.
It doesn't work
It's
for me.
it's it's not a ball cop. He shaved his head.
Really? He did the
Yes.
full Karen Gillan?
Yes. I
I
mean, he
mean,
shaved the
that's
top. He left
impressive.
the sides. Yeah.
Well,
No,
sure,
it's
sure.
it's it's very good. I watched it on an airplane at some point, but really good.
What service is it
Uh,
through?
I think it's Apple Plus.
See, I don't
Yeah,
want to do
I
that.
know. I know.
So one thing I have written down is
Suspenders? His monkey see, monkey do, monkey hear, all that kind of the
well, I
see no
mean,
evil, hear no
no,
evil.
actually, I hadn't written down Harvey Keitel's suspenders. I
Dude,
think that's
they're
more of a
great.
your eye kind of thing.
I don't know when I'd wear them, but I'm like, I kind of like them. I would wear them.
Hey, I will keep that in mind for your birthday. I'm going to get you a pair of ugly suspenders.
I'm not against this. I will wear them somewhere, sometime.
So what I had written down is that they used just like the first one, they used a lot of actual filming locations for this,
Hmm.
which I really appreciate. I mean, the shots inside Buckingham Palace and the shots inside the Library of Congress and things like that, all of their coverage shots, so things that are not, you know, like a close up, they're all within the actual locations, and I can really appreciate that. They probably spent a good chunk of money on that, but I think it really helps lend it to what little believability this movie actually has.
Yeah, I think that was actually a big part of maybe why the original draw when it first came out, because people either are from these places or always wanted to visit these places. They're like, oh, I can actually see these places in a movie, and it's really that place.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I did write that. I think they did this with the first movie for sure, obviously, but they also did it with the second movie where I didn't even pick up on it with the first movie, but it's so much a like father son dynamic flick where it's always him and John Voight like, no, we believe in you, like you're
Oh yeah,
like
oh yeah.
that whole bit is present the whole way through for both movies. That
I think it's more front and center this time around because then they
yes,
also
yes,
have the
like
Helen Mirren's also I believe in you son kind of thing.
yes, which
Like
I mean I'm fine with it. It's just something I didn't really pick up on inherently in the first one, and until that last monologue by John Voight when they're stuck in the like tunnel bit,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they're pretty prevalent throughout this one. Just something I thought of. I did like that I caught on the Inception Parkway that they're a little like in
Oh yeah,
France.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah. In Paris,
nice,
yes.
nice.
I
Again,
I was sitting on the couch and I can see you looking over at me while we're watching this. I'm like, yeah, no, I got it, Duncan.
like,
Trust me, I'm right there, man. I'm right there.
what I think works well is both movies. They're basically just. I mean, yes, it's treasure hunting, but a lot of it is wrapped around a like history heist. Like, oh, we need
Yeah,
to sneak in here. We need to do this because it's not allowed. But that's why I think it's like a subgenre because like yes, it's a heist movie, but it's not like money. It's like information, I guess. That I thought was interesting.
we'll see. This time around, I think it is money because it is gold.
Well, no, but I'm saying like when they're sneaking in to get to the Resolute desks or anything like that.
I
Like
suppose so. So one thing that I like about these movies, both of them, is that they move really quickly. And when you think about it, there is a lot that gets done
it's true.
over the course of the plot that because this is paced actually very well, you don't really notice. I mean, because it starts at the well, it starts in the past, and then they go to the seminar, and then they go
And
to
that, I mean that's yeah, and
all
that's
these places, and
sure.
it really doesn't ever drag. Which is,
Not really.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, even in the second one, where we're towards the end and they're doing all their questionable Indiana Jones esque stuff,
I mean
it never drags there either.
a little bit in my opinion, but still like compared to a lot of other movies that have big slumps.
Oh yeah.
No, not at all.
I have written down that for the director of the FBI, he doesn't seem to care that much about security.
Not
Like
really.
they they somehow go to his office. They explain that they essentially broke into the Oval Office, tampered with ancient furniture, and he's like, "Oh, that's fine. Let's go walk and talk and look at some ducks." Like, my guy, what are you doing? What is your job even supposed to be? You're not doing it.
Yeah. Uh,
I also think it was great that we got another "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence" shark jumping line of "I'm going to kidnap the President of the United States."
yes, yes, for sure. I mean, that's his. I mean, I don't want to say that's his bit, but that's his bit now. Like,
No, it's a
I
hundred
bet
percent his bit.
if you ask most people what they know Nick Cage for, it might be that the first one at least.
Oh, 100%.
Uh,
I mean, even though that I know I've seen him in other things, if you came up to me and you didn't know me on the street, like, "Hey, what's your favorite Nick Cage movie?" The only thing that would come to mind is The First National Treasure.
I mean, I might say Ghost Rider,
Okay, well,
but
we'll talk about that later.
yeah.
If
Thinking
anything,
of that,
I think watching Ghost Riders would be fun,
I don't know
even
if
if to
this.
make fun of
I don't know if I want this to be just a Nick Cage podcast. I don't know if that's my goal.
it. That's fine. That's fine. So one, so I would say if I do have gripes about this movie, they all come towards the end because that's kind of where it becomes unbelievable in a way that the first one wasn't.
Agreed.
Like the
Yeah.
whole sequence of Mount Rushmore, one, it's somehow not crowded. There's no one there. Absolutely
Mhm.
no one. They go in the middle of the day and there's like what? One family with a couple of kids on those stairs. No one else is there.
Well, keep in mind this was also 20 years ago, so it's maybe not as
It's not
popular.
like
And they
people
also,
didn't care about Mount Rushmore 20 years ago.
that's true. I mean, we were there at some point.
We were. I remember our tent got picked up by the breeze.
I don't remember anything about that.
It's not
Either
important
way.
for right now.
Yeah.
And then
There's
somehow
a
they're
certain
able
amount of
to,
suspension of disbelief, yes.
and
And
then
there's
somehow they're
and
able to
there's
find
somehow
a secret staircase going up the side of the mountain, and
yes,
all of this
yes.
stuff. Like I
Yes.
think the more the third act goes on, the goofier it becomes.
Sure.
Like the whole seesaw section.
Sure. Of
If there's
course.
ever a
Yes.
point where this movie drags, it's right there.
Sure. No, I get it. I did write if you're a goon, you're a goon.
It's the bat.
Again, like that
Let's
I
not use
feel like
goon.
they
Let's think of
could
something
have
else.
they could have trimmed that Karchi saying. Like, why was that such a thing? That
I
could have
mean,
been
it goes on for a while, but again,
yes.
I didn't
Also,
dislike
where are
it.
the cops? Where are the cops?
Oh, you know, there's no cops in Britain. Clearly, this is fact. Everyone knows this.
And then the next thing I've got is just the classic, actually Nick Cage being Nick Cage on the
Oh, the whole thing on
banister.
the banister.
Which watching the bloopers and how many different takes that took, that was fun. Like,
I mean, imagine being the guy you have to act against that. Like being the guy who plays the
yes,
security guard, keeping a
yes,
straight face, watching
sure,
Nick Cage have a Nick Cage moment. Like that would have been so difficult.
yeah. I mean, but that's part of why I think this works. Is it's like a little bit of that, and it's not the whole thing. Is just that. There's only
Yes.
little bits of that here and there, which I think is why he was able to stay in like mainstream for this kind of thing. It's not super out of left field.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some little lines that just I don't know why they stuck with me. Just like Connor rocks. Ugh. Ugh.
You mentioned you wanted a shirt that says
I
Connor
don't know why
rocks.
it made me laugh. But it just I was like, ah, Connor rocks, dude. I liked that Riley is almost always wearing some piece of corduroy, either a jacket
Yes.
or a shirt
The
or
dude
something.
constantly looks slightly fuzzy.
Yes, which I'm fine with, but I like it. I did like that they had the character development but for both not just Ed Harris, like yeah, I'll sacrifice myself. Spoiler alert, but also usually, I
It's
mean
been
not
20
usually, but like
years, man.
yes, but like by the end, the whole like subplot of like Nick Cage not listening to Riley or Dan Kruger sort of kind of got resolved where he was trying to be
I mean, I don't know if he's trying to change. I think he's pretending like he is because he's lonely,
Nick Cage,
which
dude. Nick Cage.
fair.
Or just like again, another one of those lines where just like Connor rocks. Oh, like do you like ducks? Like made me think of it made me think of do you like jazz from the B movie that kind
Oh
of
my
thing.
god, the B movie. Yes.
Let's see. I always think the guy who plays the president always plays some sort of presidential. Like he's
Oh
played the
yeah,
president
I think
before.
he's definitely
He also
typecast, and
played
that's
like
okay.
he. I don't know. He does it well. I'm fine with that. But
I
do you
do like that
think?
he's essentially in this movie. He's like, I'm not just any president. I'm a cool president. I'm gonna leave a party and dig up my basement. It's like, okay,
Okay, why
buddy,
not, dude?
it's fine, but like this would never in a million years be what happens. There's no amount of secret security that you're going to scuba through a pond and somehow get through.
Yes. What else? Again, they set it up so easily for a sequel with page 47 or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
I
just
know.
nothing. Again, I've looked through and just it just hasn't happened. That's fine, whatever.
Well, it's like they mentioned a bunch of things when they were just flipping
Yes.
through the thing, and Riley keeps pointing, oh, there's aliens, there's the Kennedy assassination. Like
Yeah, but
you
none of
could
that
make
is enough.
movies about any of these things.
No, no, no. But see, the thing is, all those things are too. They're
Mainstream.
too hokey. No, no, no. The alien is too hokey. JFK is gonna be too divisive. That's why I think these movies work because they're not super inherently political one way or another.
Yeah, you're
They're
right. Lincoln
simply
and slavery wasn't
no, no,
political.
no. But no, but I'm saying like they're very like soft, if that makes sense. They're not like
The
oh
conflicts that
this
they are talking about are not divisive in any way.
or they're so far in the past that it doesn't. I want to say it doesn't matter, but like, dude, it
The
was over
vast
100 years
movie-going
ago.
audience won't care. You're right.
Exactly. That's why I think they work. That's why because I was thinking I was like, oh, I wonder if this president is a Democrat or a Republican, but it doesn't matter for the movie. That's why that's never really addressed. He's just the president. That's why
Yes.
if you look around like the party he's at, it's just generic like America stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, this is this person kind of thing, you know? I did
Something that
say that
I
I
wrote down is the car product placement is a lot heavier in this one than it is the first one. I mean, even beyond the fact that there's a car chase scene, like
sure.
there's a
I
lot
mean,
of
granted,
establishing shots that begin at the hood or the trunk, or we pan up from someone's wheel. It's like, oh yeah, Mercedes and Range Rover probably financed part of this movie.
yeah, I mean, hey, got to pay for the movie somehow.
So one of the last couple things I have written down is that I think Ed Harris would have made a great Red Skull if they were ever to, for whatever reason, make a different origin story for Captain America. Ed Harris would make a great Red Skull if he could do a German accent.
If he could, yeah, I'd be down for that.
And then I also wrote down that this is scored. The music is done by the same person, Trevor Rabin, and it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit different this time around. There's more focus on orchestra and less of like the almost techno music that they put into the first one, but it still sounds pretty good.
Yeah, like there again, there's hints of the same little uh first theme, which I do
Yes,
like the main theme. It's adventure enough to be adventure, and it's not like too I don't want to say ridiculous. It fits the movie, but
it doesn't sound
uh
like The Mummy, but
correct.
because not everything fits every genre. Like I think if you switch those two scores, like I think if you put the Mummy theme into this, there are parts of it that would still work, but it's too over the top. It's too fantastical sounding. This one is a little bit more grounded in the way that it sounds.
I did think watching this, like again, I don't know if and or when it would happen, but I'm like, oh, okay, I would like to visit the Library of Congress or Rushmore
I
again, things
I
like
would
that.
love to visit the Library of Congress. I think that would be incredibly interesting. I
even
actually
if
went out
like
and I bought some old books yesterday from a vintage place. I would love to go look at old books.
yeah, I was like, yeah, just to go look. I don't know if I'd like again. I don't know if I'd get anything or check out anything. I'd just like go walk around and check it out. But
Absolutely.
which again, I'm sure that's. I wonder if I don't know how you could research this, but I wonder if any of this movie got funding from just like the national
I'm
either
sure it did.
parks or
I think that's how
anything
they
like
got
that.
permission to film in a lot of these places that they probably got
Sure.
funding towards from it.
I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. Uh, yeah, we already touched on the whole little corny, Goonie-esque Indiana Jones vibes towards the end. Probably could have trimmed that car chase down a little bit. That's more or less everything I've got. I did was reading some like behind the scenes stuff on IMDb, and apparently when they got to the University of Maryland, which again they filmed at on site, that's where
Right.
his quote unquote mom worked. Uh, it was not the right season, and it had snowed a bunch the night before, and they had just come from sunny weather, so they're like, "Oh shit, it's got to be sunny." So they had to use a bunch of fire hoses. Basically they just hosed down the entire a good portion of the campus just to melt all the snow before they started filming.
That
I was
does
like, oh,
explain why everyone's in like
that's kind of
puffer
cool.
jackets and heavy
Yes,
coats
so
for
yeah,
that
so
scene
because I was like, oh,
because when I was watching, I'm like, this is supposed to be the middle of summer. Why are they all wrapped up like it's winter? That makes a lot more sense.
yeah, so it's clear, it's just not warm. That's why yes, it's sunny, but it's definitely that's why they're all wearing layers.
So something that I looked up yesterday after we had watched this. So the actual set for the City of Gold, Cibola, they actually
Yes.
built all of that, and then
Oh
they
yeah, I
just
mean we
used it
saw a hint
for
of that on.
one or two establishing shots. Like I get that. Yeah, fine. You have this nice in camera perspectives and whatnot, but why you didn't make use of it really? Like
I'm
maybe it
sure. I
was
mean,
cheaper than making it in CG. It
it
just makes
probably
me
it
think.
might have been,
It
but
just makes me think you kind of wasted it.
depending on how they used it, maybe it was cheaper. Maybe it was better for the actors to get into character in a actual. Like I think of things like Ant Man Quantumania, where the entire thing is green screen and it's fucking awful. So
Well, it's
even if
like
it's just a shot or two, I can appreciate it.
uh,
Like I'm fine with them doing that.
so for The Hobbit, Ian McKellen had a similar problem because instead of doing forced perspective like they did in Lord of the Rings, a lot of it is him acting to a green screen and then he's
Yes.
superimposed to make him look larger. And
Mm-hmm.
he straight up had an awful time with this. Like he's a stage actor. He's used to reacting to things and and doing his back and forth with real people. And he had a real
Mm-hmm.
problem essentially acting to tennis balls, and he almost left production because of it.
Well, that's I think there is definitely a healthy balance somewhere because I think especially without it, you can look backwards to much older movies where they don't have CGI, and a lot of times they look kind of rough. But then you also see the other side of the spectrum where it's too much. Like if you look at like Aquaman 2, awful.
Thankfully,
No
I've
offense to
yet to
anyone
watch it. I've
involved,
heard nothing, but
but
it is garbage.
yeah, it's pretty garbage. So that I think there's definitely a spot in the middle, like even like the original Iron Man, or yes, obviously they didn't have him flying around in a metal suit, but there's
Oh
a
yeah,
balance.
there's
That
a
way,
lot
it's
more practical work on that than people realize.
exactly. So that's why, or I mean, anything with Christopher Nolan where he builds like the rotating
Oh my
uh,
god, yes.
hallway for Inception. Yes,
Yep,
they
yep, yep,
probably
yep.
could have figured out a way to make that in 3D, but it's not the same.
Okay, so one last thing I had written down was, let's say you work at a story head of Disney. Bob Iger comes to you one afternoon and says, "All right, we're reviving the franchise. We're making another not Indiana Jones, Jesus. We're making another National Treasure. What's a broad story you would do for number 3?" And you had to use the same three people. Like you had to bring back Riley, you had to bring back Diane
Well,
Kruger, you had to
I've
bring
already
back
saw
Cage.
that.
What
I've
would you
already
do?
seen that Riley has said yes, I would do another one. So I think he's fine, and Diane Kruger is still, I
I
think,
mean,
a
she's still
babe
a babe.
enough. Yeah, like again, babe enough to be fine. I think the one you kind of have to worry about is Nick Cage because I think he is starting to not look great. Like he looks. Granted,
Well,
he's not a young man. He's not a young man anymore. He is old,
no,
and he looks sick.
he's definitely getting towards his 60s.
Yeah, he might be 60 by now. I don't know.
But let's
Um,
so
Either way, you have to
let's
bring
say
them back.
you
I
had to make a third. What would you do for broad plot?
uh
Like,
see, it's
where are
already
these characters
ridiculous.
now?
Well, they're roughly 20 years later. They have kids, probably, and it's
I
probably
think
them
Riley's still
solving.
single.
I think he is. Yes, I think he's the fun uncle that visits them. But
I think he's made a line of B movies. I think that he works out of like an A24 kind of studio where he makes like conspiracy theory monster movies. I think that would suit him.
okay, yeah, but like, what is the thing that they're doing together?
I don't have enough history knowledge to make it sound like a believable plot, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm right along that way with you. But I mean, my mind jumps to like Sahara, where they've got that metal boat in the middle of the desert. There's lots of like,
Wait, wait,
there's a lot
wait.
of stuff out there.
Say that title again?
Sahara,
You mean Sahara?
potatoes, like you said before.
Oh, okay. I think John Voight's character has probably died,
Oh yeah, by in 20 years, yeah, he's dead.
and Nicolas Cage's character has become the John Voight character. He is now the man who
I
sits in
like
a
that.
house full of knickknacks and weird stuff, and probably Diane Kruger still works for the government.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe you bring back Sandusky.
I mean, I saw he was in that new limited series.
Oh,
Eh,
really?
yeah,
Of all
nah,
the people to bring back, you bring back Harvey. All right, whatever.
nah. Yeah, I
Well,
don't know what they would solve, but I think you could figure out a way either with them or their offspring or something to make it
yeah,
work.
maybe,
But I do think
maybe
I
they
do
have a new
think to
Gates kid.
yeah, I do think to make it work though, you do need the original 3 in some capacity.
Yes, yes. So, closing thoughts before we wrap up.
As we
How do
wrap
you
up,
feel
yeah.
about it?
I'm glad I watched it. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
I need to see it.
it's been a good 10 years for me.
I don't think I need to see it again for quite a while, but
Yeah,
that's fine. I would recommend it to only people who have seen the first one because A, it does lend from the first one, and B, like if you watch the first one and didn't like it, I'm not gonna recommend the second kind of thing.
yes, this is definitely one of those sequels where you could not start with this one.
No.
Like things like Attack of the Clones or Spider-Man 2, you could arguably skip the first ones and it'll still make sense. That will not work here. Please hold while Duncan takes a call.
Just an alarm going off. I just have things I have to get done soon.
Well, we're wrapping up here. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say if you have access to Disney Plus or the Blu-ray or whatever, watch it and obviously make your own opinion. If it's not your vibe, obviously there's plenty of other either Nick Cage, Diane Kruger, Ed Harris movies that you might want to explore otherwise. But yeah, I'd say I had a good time watching it.
I I I had a better time than I thought that I was going to. For whatever reason, I remembered this movie being worse, but I had a
Yeah,
good
me
time.
too.
Like I don't know if I'd watch it again in the next couple of years, but if someone else put this on, I'd sit down and I'd watch through it again. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we've watched through both of them now.
Yes. All right, what are we watching next week or whenever?
Um, well, we still have yet to cover Birds of Prey,
Yeah, I'm fine watching that.
and then I think we cover Fury Road now that the sequel's coming out.
Yeah, I would do that. Okay.
because I will always be up for an excuse to watch Fury Road because I love that movie.
Sounds good to me. Well, if you've been listening, I would say tune in next time for a comprehensive Harley Quinn talk, if we decide to do that. Uh, and
Whichever episode
yeah,
comes out first.
yeah, yeah,
If
yeah.
you have enjoyed the podcast, feel free to give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, whatever the button looks like. You can find us on social media on Instagram under uh, the the movie
The movie
underscore bros,
underscore bros. Yep.
and we will look forward to chatting with you guys again next week.
Sounds good.